Welcome back, guys. So what if I told you pretty soon here video games could be considered an Olympic sport? Bring home the gold, right? Well, it's true, guys. So the International Olympic Committee is very heavily considering implementing video games into the 2024 Summer Olympic Games, which is going to be held in Paris, France. Sounds crazy, right? But it's definitely a strange world we live in, and things are, changing rapidly here. And there's a big reason for why they are considering this, and I'm sure a lot of you probably already popped in your head, and you already know why without even watching, this or looking into it. But it boils down to money. Let's just be honest. It boils down to money. Viewership of the Olympics, be it the Summer or Winter Olympics, has dropped dramatically over the years. When you don't have people watching, you don't have ads to sell, you don't have premium ads to sell, people aren't making money. You know what I mean? They're not making as much money as they would like. So that is why they are considering this, because there's this huge demographic of, around 18 to 50-year-olds who just aren't really watching the Olympics like they used to. And in that demographic, there are a lot of people who play video games. There are a couple billion, if not more, video game players in this world today. There's tons of us, right? And eSports has become a huge thing that, has been legitimized. It was always a thing that I was curious about and dreamed of as a kid. Like, man, maybe one day I could make money playing video games. And for me, that hasn't necessarily become true, but for a lot of people that has become a reality with eSports. Professional video game players. It's definitely a different thing that a lot of people didn't foresee happening, but it has happened. So is it really that far-fetched for esports to be incorporated into the Olympics? I don't know. That's what I want to talk about today, and I kind of want to hear what you guys think about this topic. So think about it, drop a comment down below. I do read all the comments and respond to as many of them as I can. And, going forward, my thoughts on this, it's just kind of a weird thing, because I think the positive will probably outweigh the negative. And what could possibly be negative about this? Well, there's for sure a lot of people who won't legitimize video games being, a profession, playing video games professionally, competitively, in a professional manner. There's going to be a lot of people out there, a lot of curmudgeons, let's be honest, who just can't accept that. Like, nope, this is not legitimate. And if they incorporate that into the Olympics, a lot of people will just be like, man, no, they're gonna have pitchforks and just a mob, no, we're boycotting this, forget this noise. I could see the protests now. A lot of people just like, no, hell no, no video games in our Olympics. Like, video games aren't traditional sports. That's what I could really hear a lot of people saying. But I think that negative aspect of it, which for sure would happen, there will be a lot of people who are just anti-incorporating this into the, legitimate Olympics. They probably look, okay, they got their little esports thing, their little competitions, let that be relegated over in that little corner there. It's not legitimate. We don't have to recognize it. We don't have to watch it. We don't have to be exposed to it. And if you incorporate that into something as huge as the Olympics, now you're going to be exposed to it. So for sure, see a lot of those people, rallying against it and protesting and boycotting, all that kind of stuff. But I think the positive, though, with the way the world has changed and a lot of people embracing video games, so many people play video games, there's not even, so much of an age gap. There's, young and old people enjoy video games in one way or another, be it, on consoles, PCs, mobile games, tablets, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people are gaming in one form or another. Doesn't matter if it's not a big AAA game. There's a lot of people playing games. A lot of people who were young back in the 70s and 80s when gaming became a big thing, or, getting up there in age now, and they still embrace it. So I think that demographic there, definitely the positive will outweigh those purists, those people who are just like, this is not traditional. And I think that could be a good thing. I really do. I'm a little conflicted, with this being an Olympic thing, being an actual Olympic event, being a legitimate Olympic event. I kind of have my reservations on it, just because it's not that I can't appreciate professional game players. I really do. It takes skill and effort and a lot of time to become good at these games. And you know, a lot of people have it and a lot of people don't. It's the same thing with what you would consider traditional sports, you know, soccer, football, baseball, cricket. Doesn't matter what it is, you know, they're sports that not everybody can be good at or professional at. And it's the same thing with video games. There's some people that they're just like, man, I look at some of these games, it's like, no, there's no way I could ever be good the way this person is, the way this group of people is. And it's definitely a thing you have to have skill and dedication in it, so I can respect that. But when I think of the Olympics, typically I do think of traditional sports. Sports that, you know, take physical skill. Both physical and mental. And, you know, these are my views, these are my opinions. I'm sure you guys will, you know, have different views and opinions on this, but I typically do think of the Olympics in that fashion, that these are skill-based physical sports. And some people could debate that, you know, with video games. Is a video game a sport in the sense that it's a physical, skilled plus, you know, mental skilled activity? And that's where I'm kind of unsure with my thoughts on it. I'm not 100% how I think about that. You know, we're always redefining what things are. It's just the world we live in, you know, for good or bad. And if this becomes a legitimate thing, which in reality, esports is already a legitimate thing for a lot of people, brings in a lot of money, has created a lot of, you know, personalities and people that are recognized and praised for their skill and efforts into these games. So to become even more widespread legitimate could be a good thing. Definitely I could see that becoming, you know, something that turns into a more positive in the long run for video games, because there still is somewhat of a negative stigma tied to people playing video games, you know, with the World Health Organization coming out with, you know, video game disorder and all that. And, you know, that just kind of seemed like a cry to stay relevant. Like a lot of people in my video on that said, you know, the WHO, they're just trying to stay relevant, you know, popping their heads up and coming up with something new to be talked about and in the news. And, you know, that's definitely something people are looking at in a negative fashion. Like, oh my God, these kids, they're addicted to these games. It's the end of the world. It's hell on earth. This is going to be the downfall of civilization, is these kids playing video games and not seeing the sunlight and all this stuff. I don't really think there's that much of an issue, you know. People still go outside. People still enjoy physical sports. People still breathe fresh air and do outside activities. It's just video games have become more, you know, prominent in the home, you know, where, you know, years and years ago, not everybody could afford a video game system. I'm not saying everybody can now, but it's a lot easier and cheaper to get video games in your life. And a lot of people who grew up with them in the early days, being exposed to them, you know, they have kids, they have families now, and their kids are exposed to the same things and, you know, to the new stuff that's out there. So it's just easier and more affordable to be a gamer now than when it once was. So I just think the exposure a lot of people have looked at in a negative fashion. I don't think that's, you know, necessarily fair to say, you know, all these negative things about video games. That's a topic for another time for sure. But it's really an interesting thing in a different, you know, world that we're living in. If this happens, I'm being honest with you guys, I haven't watched the Olympics in years. It's not something I've really been extremely interested in. And I'm gonna be honest right now, if video games aren't incorporated in the 2024 Olympics, I'll probably tune in. I'll probably watch and see how this goes down, how this works. I'm sure, you know, if they decide on this and you know, make that call and implement video games into the Olympics, you know, we'll get more details on that then. But definitely curious, you know, how is that going to work? What kind of games are going to be categorized as Olympic sports? You know, what's going to be allowed as an Olympic sport? What's going to be officially recognized as an Olympic sport? Obviously, right now, you know, it's 6 years away to when the target is to implement this, to hopefully implement this on their part. They're looking into doing this. You know, the relevancy of games is going to be different. There's going to be different things that people are playing professionally and, you know, going into tournaments and championships on. And all the eSports stuff. It's going to be a different, climate, a different world at that point of what is actually played. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to work. What games are going to be incorporated into the Olympic Summer Games. Now, for sure, it would be ridiculous if they're like, oh yeah, FIFA 2024, for the PS4, that's going to be an Olympic event. That would be downright stupid if that's what it boils down to. This is ridiculous, but I don't think that's a direction it would go for sure. It would be more of, the MOBA stuff, the first-person shooter stuff, stuff like Overwatch, Fortnite, whatever is relevant at that time that's similar to what is being played professionally in esports. Those are the games I would imagine would be considered for the Olympic Games. So let me know what you guys think down below. I know this is a crazy topic, but I am really curious to hear what you guys think. Is this just a bunch of nonsense? Are you going to be one of those people with your pitchforks out there and, heck no, this isn't traditional? I don't like this. Don't put the video games, in my Olympic Games. No, it doesn't fit. Let me know down below. I'm curious to hear what you guys got to say. So I do appreciate you stopping in. Smash that like button, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Follow me on Twitter. We're trying to get those Twitter followers up because we're going to be doing some amazing giveaways there. Hey, and if you're also interested in supporting my channel, I do have a Patreon account. Link is in the description. We do some awesome giveaways every month, exclusive to my patrons. We have some exclusive videos, other little giveaways and stuff like that. Some interesting things we're doing over there. So if you're interested, at least peep it out. Hey, if that's not your thing, that's cool too. Just at least smash that like button. Let me know what you think down below. That said, guys, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out. Bye-bye, and boom.